The hallways of Crestwood High were always loud, filled with slamming lockers, chatter, and the constant rush of students heading from one class to another. But today, the sound of laughter that rang down the tiled corridor wasn't the usual harmless fun. It was sharp, cruel, and directed at one person, Leela James. Leela had always been the quiet one, the girl who walked with her books hugged to her chest and her head slightly lowered, as if hoping the world would forget she existed. She wasn't weak, though. Not in the way most people thought. She carried her silence like armor, but in a school that worshipped popularity, silence was often mistaken for fragility. The football team ruled Crestwood High, and no one ruled the football team more than its star player, Brad Turner. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of smile that made teachers overlook his arrogance, Brad was used to being treated like royalty. His teammates followed him. The cheerleaders adored him, and the principal practically considered him the school's golden boy. But Brad also had a cruel streak, and he loved using it on those who couldn't, or wouldn't, fight back. Leela, in his eyes, was the perfect target. She was small, quiet, and always alone. And Brad liked to remind everyone that silence didn't protect anyone in Crestwood. It started with whispers. Brad and his friends would pass her in the hall and mutter things just loud enough for her to hear. "Hey, ghost girl. Does she even have a voice? Maybe she's mute." The first few times Leela ignored them, her grip tightening around her books as if that could hold her together. But ignoring Brad was like pouring gasoline on fire. He thrived on attention, and when he didn't get it, he escalated. Soon, it wasn't just whispers. He would knock her books out of her hands, kick them down the hallway, and watch her scramble to pick them up while laughter roared around her. But today was different. Today, Brad didn't want laughter. He wanted to humiliate. Leela had just finished her math class and was walking toward her locker, counting the steps in her head to calm herself. 17 steps from the classroom door to her locker. She always counted. Numbers steadied her when people didn't. She reached the row of lockers near the gym entrance and knelt to open hers. She was sliding her math notebook inside when she felt the air shift behind her. Shadows fell across her locker, and she turned her head slightly to see Brad and two of his teammates standing there, blocking the hallway like a wall of muscle. "Well, if it isn't the little ghost," Brad said, his voice dripping with mock sweetness. He leaned one arm against the locker beside hers, caging her in. His other hand spun a football lazily, the leather thudding softly with each turn. "You know, I was wondering something. Do you ever speak? Or are you just decoration in this school?" His teammates snickered behind him, eager to back up whatever cruelty he unleashed next. Leela closed her locker slowly, keeping her eyes on the lock, not on him. She had learned that eye contact with Brad was an invitation, but he didn't like being ignored. With a sharp movement, he slammed his palm against her locker, making the metal clang. The sound echoed down the hallway, and Leela flinched. That was all it took for more students to stop and watch. They always did. Nobody wanted to miss Brad putting someone in their place. "Ayo, did I scare you?" Brad smirked, tilting his head down at her. "Come on, say something. Or maybe." He glanced at his friends, a cruel spark in his eyes. "Maybe you need a little encouragement." Before Leela could move, Brad's hand shot out and yanked the strap of her backpack, pulling her off balance. She stumbled forward, colliding with the lockers. Her books slipped from her arms and hit the floor with a loud slap. Laughter rippled through the crowd that was now gathering. Brad looked around like a performer taking the stage, soaking in the attention. "This is sad, isn't it?" he said, pointing at her as she bent to pick up her books. "Our little ghost girl can't even walk straight. Maybe I should teach her how to stand properly." He reached out and shoved her shoulder lightly, enough to make her stumble again. His friends laughed louder. The crowd grew. Some whispered, some laughed, and some just stared with wide eyes, too afraid to step in. Because who would dare go against Brad Turner, the star quarterback with college scouts already whispering about his future? But as Leela steadied herself, something inside her shifted. She wasn't just counting steps anymore. She was counting heartbeats, breaths, moments. She had promised herself a long time ago that she would never let anyone push her past a certain line. She had trained for years quietly, in a small dojo her father had taken her to before he passed away. "Strength isn't in showing off," he used to say. "It's in knowing when to use it, and when not to." For years, she had stayed quiet, holding herself back, letting insults roll off her shoulders. But Brad had just crossed the line, and she knew what her father would say now: "Don't let anyone write your story for you." Brad bent closer, his face inches from hers. "What's the matter, ghost girl? Are you gonna cry? Or are you just gonna?" He didn't finish. In one swift motion, faster than anyone could register, Leela's knee shot upward. The sound it made was sickening, a sharp, brutal impact against Brad's body. His smirk vanished instantly, replaced by a strangled gasp. His football fell to the floor as he doubled over, clutching himself, his breath knocked out in a choking wheeze. The hallway went silent, dead silent. The mighty Brad Turner, star quarterback, the untouchable king of Crestwood High, was on his knees. His teammates froze, their laughter cut short, their faces pale with shock. The crowd gaped, stunned into silence. No one had ever laid a hand on Brad before. No one dared. But Leela had done more than that. She had dropped him with one knee, swift and merciless, like lightning striking without warning. Brad groaned, collapsing against the lockers, his body curling as pain ripped through him. He looked up at her, disbelief painted across his face. You, he choked, unable to form the words. Leela didn't flinch. She didn't look away. For the first time, she raised her eyes and met his with a calmness that unsettled everyone watching. "You picked the wrong ghost," she said softly, her voice steady and sharp. The crowd gasped. She had spoken. And not just spoken. She had silenced the loudest voice in the school. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Did you see that?" She dropped him. "Brad's done. He's finished." Phones were out now, recording, capturing the moment that would ripple through Crestwood High for weeks, maybe months. Brad tried to stand, but his legs wobbled. His football dreams, the scholarship offers, the glory, suddenly looked fragile, breakable. All because the girl he had mocked, the girl he had cornered, had reminded him that power wasn't about size or status. It was about control, and Brad had lost his. Leela bent down, picked up her books one by one, and straightened her backpack. The crowd parted as she walked away, her steps steady, her chin lifted higher than it had ever been before. Nobody stopped her. Nobody dared. The silence that followed her was louder than all the laughter that had haunted her before. For the first time in a long time, Leela didn't count her steps. She didn't need to. Each one echoed with something new: freedom.